My wife was like, "You smell good." I was like, "I put cologne on for this." Like I know they, I know they can't smell me, but they're gonna smell me. They're gonna feel me.
Well, first of all, Troy, thank you so much for being on this, and we'll get started here in a second.
Did you just write Live, Laugh, Love, banner?
Actually, this is like something I got at my wedding. It's like a blended family puzzle, but I was like,
Oh, nice.
I was like, nah, they need to see this Michael Jackson.
Move over, blended family.
Yeah, right. Right. I love him dearly, but I mean, come on now, it's off the wall. What am I supposed to do?
Have you seen the new horror video game with Michael Jackson in it? That's
what is it?
There's a game where you walk around. I guess it's Neverland Ranch that you're walking around now that I think about it. But you're walking around a big mansion and you're trying to get out, and Michael Jackson is dancing around, following you. But it's like a very horror version of that, where you'll look around the corner of a hallway and then he'll moonwalk by suddenly in a terrifying way, and go.
Welcome to Guess Who, the show where you'd think we were going to make you guess who's on the show, but instead we're just going to tell you it's Troy Harris.
The suspense was killing me. So.
Yay.
Thanks, y'all. Happy to be here. What's up, Mr. West, my buddies?
Troy is a published author, a writer, and brand creative at MailChimp, host of For Lack of a Wetter Bird, which is hard to say, try doing it, a speaker, editor of Grits and Gospel, and a very funny actor. We use for some of our favorite stuff with Everyman Jack. Is that kind of
you know what? You got it all.
Anything? Did I miss anything?
If you would have kept going, we would have had to bring somebody else out because that would have been too prolific. So I appreciate it. That's me in a nutshell.
Well, thank you for being our first guest ever. We're going to try not to mess this up.
Today is a good day. Thursday has always been my favorite day of the week, actually. I wrote an article about it many years ago, and I broke it down. You know how some people take themselves way too seriously, and then they take very simple concepts, and then they go into deep dive on them to try to make them even simpler than they already were. That's me. I did that about the day Thursday, and so the fact that we're recording this on a Thursday is awesome.
Thursday is the best day.
It's like the day of the week where you finally stop running from something and start running towards something. That from being Monday, and I guess the tour was being the weekend. I also made the note that a lot of movies, albums, and sometimes people get paid at midnight. You know, all those things happen at midnight on Thursday. You can go to work with a hangover if you absolutely have to, because there's just one day left in the week. For all those reasons, I just thought Thursday was the actual best day of the week. I think the 5 o'clock beer feels the best, probably on a Friday, but Thursday is not far behind.
I don't know. I think the 5 o'clock beer on a Thursday is better too, because I feel like Friday, by the end of it, it's like, all right, now I'm exhausted from that week, and I just want to decompress.
Yeah, and then plus,
Thursday,
like, if you want to take a long weekend,
a little energy, right?
Thursday is the last day of work, right? If you're going to go on a trip, a lot of people are taking off on Fridays. Some people have summer Fridays. Some people work from home only one time a week, and that'll be on a Friday. And so Thursday has a lot of finality to it. And I think that we can benefit a lot from waking up on Thursday being like, let's go.
Yeah.
Troy, what's your favorite 4-day weekend configuration to take?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm sorry, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But if you can catch it on a MLK Day or a President's Day or Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, and do the Thursday and Friday before that, and then you kind of get the Monday as the day off, then you're really cooking with grease.
So let's talk about now you're going back to work and you took Monday off. Tuesday to Friday is a longer week than a Monday to Friday, I think.
You ever seen that picture that it says when you ask a monkey to swim, but if you ask a fish to climb a tree, they'll never be able to do it because you got the expectations mixed up? Our expectations of a 4-day work week are so much higher than that of a 5-day work week that it has no choice but to fall short.
I think that our bodies naturally reject a 5-day work week, and we only do 4 days of work within a 5-day work week anyway, is my personal theory.
So half of our job is really faking one of the days and peppering that through the rest of the week.
Friday, we take Friday off and we spread it out.
So
I'm not a guest house. A guest house, we work all 5 days of the week. But most people, they take that Friday and spread it.
It's got to be something. I mean, some folks work those 4-10s and
we should
still 40 hours a week. They just figure it out and add a couple hours each day. Like you said, pepper it through the week. When you get to Friday, you feel like you really earned that thing and you don't have to show up.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day. It was on Threads. Oh, real quick. On Threads, they said, take one number in your life and add a 0 to it. Which number would it be? And I was like, my salary, duh. And the dude was like, no, the weekend is now 20 days. I was like, okay, maybe that's better. Well, it was messed up that we all think about like these, you know what I'm saying? Like that first. But he was like, no, the weekend just be 20 days. That's the 0 I'll add. So I was like, I like his idea a little better.
I was going to ask you, Troy. So we started working with you when you were miscast, perhaps, as a project manager at an agency we worked with, and we always tell young people in the business, get into an agency, get into a brand, just get into the business, and then see where you go from there. And I'd love to know about how you got in the business.
Yes, great question. So I actually, when I first left college, I started at an agency but it was an internship in Chicago. I was an account manager, perhaps a little, it was fine. I studied business in school, just general business administration. So I was able to do that job, which was like mostly correspondence, emails. They didn't have project managers back then. So I guess some of my role was kind of like being accountable for things that I wasn't technically responsible for. But I was like, what are those dudes over there doing? I want to write. Like, that seems more fun. And they were like, yeah, but no. So I was like, cool. I turned down that job. So I did not take that advice early of just getting into an agency and figuring it out later, which is probably what I should have done looking back on. And so in order to get back into advertising, who knew that would take 4 years? So what I ended up having to do was become a project manager at a telecom company, AT&T. But that just meant that I was managing projects because that kind of closely fit my degree. So they were like, well, this guy probably can do that. So now I'm like, damn, I'm on the outside looking in of the industry, like that Squidward meme. And like SpongeBob and Patrick are like having fun and he's like in the house. Like, I wish I could read. That's how I felt. So that's how you and I, all three of us end up meeting, because I'm like, hey, there's an ad agency in town. This seems cool. But the only way I'm getting in there is if I show up as a project manager, because I've got this reputable brand behind me. So they're going to be like, sure. I think they actually thought I worked on AT&T ads, because when I got there, they were just like, just do what you normally do when you made those other commercials. And I was like, you don't understand. I've been doing like 3 installs for medium-sized businesses in Ohio who need faster Ethernet, move up and over at the same time. Or like diagonally. So I was like, okay, either I'm going to be at a place I want to be, or I'm going to be doing a job I want to be doing at a place I don't want to be. So that first step had to be, okay, first step done. I'm in a place I want to be. I'm just not doing what I want to do. And I remember the first thing the first thing I remember from both of you guys, besides that y'all were just like awesome and killing it. Wes said to me, hey, if you ever see a white guy that looks like a tennis ball, it's probably me. Feel free to pop in my desk at any point in time. Because of his hair. Now I was like, okay, white guy, red tennis ball. Wes says I can come into his office. Mitch, who was actually the most bubbly and nicest person probably in the agency at that time, told me personally, yeah, Troy, I still don't know exactly what you guys do, but I'm happy to have you on this project. And I was like, cool. So that is Mitch and Wes, the most like the people I'm looking up to the most at this place, besides our friends Sherman James, who did a lot of work similar to what y'all were doing at the time. Long story short, Mitch turns out to be the one that brings me in on a project that says, hey, I think you can do a little bit more than what you're actually doing. Let's work you into this thing. Yeah. As a copywriter. Don't tell anybody else though. And I'm like, cool. So then I started like helping them write things. And then word got around and I worked on a few different projects like that, based on the recommendation of you two guys and how reputable y'all were at Fitzco. Once I did that a couple times, I still had to be a project manager, of course, because I hadn't had many chops as a copywriter. And it just took being at a place that like believed in me enough to want me to stick around even after making the switch, because newsflash, I was miscast still. It took about 10 years. So much longer than you assume that the journey is. And now I'm writing at work and I'm writing at home. So who knew that that's really what was going on the whole time? I love it so much that I bring my work home and do it for free.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, because that's a fascinating thing, because there's so many people who call themselves a copywriter or a writer in this business, but they're choosing it not because they love to write, but because that's easier than being an art director. And everybody's like, I can write. I got an A on a paper. You have always struck me as the person who loves to write the most of anybody I've ever worked with. And even when you were a project manager, you were writing a really cool book magazine called Grits and Gospel, and then you were publishing books. And so what is it that drives you?
I was desperately craving to be looked at for my creative contributions and not my tactical contributions. My dream, what I would always come home and say, like, I can't wait till a day when somebody hits me up on Slack asking me where something is. So when that actually happened and somebody's like, Troy, you're late on this, I'm like, thank God I'm late as a creative now. That wore off pretty quickly though, because like, as y'all know, a lot of times creators, we don't have inspiration doesn't strike just because it needs to. And so sometimes that makes it difficult, but I'm definitely happy with where I landed.
Now that you're writing in your job, does it make it harder to have the energy to write for yourself?
Even when I'm doing like the ad work and script writing, it's still product focused, which means I'm always thinking about benefits. It's still like centered around like releases, which means I'm always trying to relay new benefits to the same people or old benefits to new people. Like I've been able to make it more of a science in my head. And that is a worthy distinction from what I do outside of it, which I never want to be a science. I always keep it all art. You know, my wife was the first one to say this actually. She was like, you know, this will be good for you. I'm like, yeah, of course it's going to be good. I'm right. She's like, no. Like, you've been sitting here trying to tell people about Outkast and talking about Modern Family and the difference between Martin versus Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for like 5 years. Now you got to like make somebody buy like $90 worth of equipment on a monthly basis to grow their small business to become a medium-sized business. And that's a different style of writing. And she was absolutely right. And because of that, it gives me a lot more space for whimsy when I'm not at work. So now I can still compare silly things like what's the best Thanksgiving dish and why. Rank intros from different rappers and of their albums, right? Like, I mean, I can have that whimsy now because work, I'm able to approach it so much more technically.
Yeah. But I think the other is true because I love your writing because even if you're talking about some of these things that you just mentioned, you have RTBs that you're working in, like very strong reasons to believe your points. And I think it makes you a really strong writer for whatever you're talking about.
I don't know that I've become a better writer, but I'm definitely more good, you know, like recapping. I could do a book report. I could do an album review, or I could like really an album retrospection, or I write about like the Great Migration, for example, or a moment in Black history, or a moment in American history, but it was informational. And I was like, you know why people ain't reading this? Because they could Google that. You know, what is your take on it? And like, oh, so then I went from informational writing to persuasive writing, which was like, this is what I believe, and this is why you should believe it. And then somebody said to me, one of my favorite writers, actually, he kind of does what I do. He's actually a MailChimp user, but I've been following him for a while. Shay Serrano, he wrote a couple of his books here, but he has like a big newsletter and he's just kind of like a very sort of like, lighthearted writer. His books are much more on the conversational side than they are on like the informational side. And he told me one time, because I was lucky enough to have him like respond to me once. He was like, what does this look like when you write less about yourself, or less about what you think? Then my writing became expository. And that's where I've landed, as in like, it's not up to me to make you come away from this with my opinion. I am actually just uncovering something that exists, but it's in my voice. And so take from it what you will. So then that allowed me to like, more so than seek attention with my writing, I was seeking community. I was seeking connection. You know what I mean? Like people that will come around and say like, hey, and I was like, I looked up one day and I said, Troy, you've done a great job of connecting more deeply with your audience. And I was like, well, who do you sound like? You sound like the folks at MailChimp. And like that, it all came back at the same time. Like that's exactly what any of this has been the whole time. So it's funny to kind of see like the push and pull between the two lives, because it's really just one life.
That's amazing.
That's great. I love that. The way you talk about writing is so different than a lot of people who call themselves copywriters. You have the passion and the desire to get better at it.
COVID, it wouldn't have happened.
It brings you joy, and it brings other people joy too. What was it like writing?
You're really going to feel bad.
And can you tell us about
because you got nothing but time? But it was like a little bit simpler than I think I thought it would be, mainly because they were a collection of articles that I had already been putting out on Grits and Gospel. And so I put out one piece, and it was about the time in Dallas. And I heard you, I remember you told me you listened to the audiobook, Wes. Thank you. Because I didn't know anybody was going to listen to that. But I forgot, I said plugged it. Available on Audible and wherever you get your audiobooks. But it was a collection of essays. And so it allowed me to take an iterative approach. I think the next one I write, I think will be my first real one. It'll be probably much thicker, and I, hope to like pitch it somewhere and like do the actual real process.
Yeah, it's nice to see that that's universal. That everybody has the fear and dread and good days and bad days. Yeah, every time I get an assignment, I'm like, I probably can't do this, and then you get into it. And
y'all are just professionals, man. I mean, I don't know how many people are looking up to me, but I mean, I know y'all got hundreds of thousands at this point looking up to y'all. I'm gonna put that on LinkedIn, watch everybody, all the Mitch and West disciples will comment and come running from all corners of the globe.
I don't know about that.
That is the nicest thing anyone's ever said about us, and I can quantify that. It's at the top of the list.
I want to talk about movies because you like movies, but I'm going to name you the 2010 movies that were nominated for Best Picture. 2010, I'm pulling a random one from that. I'm going to read you the list, and I want to know.
We're okay to know what we know now as we judge it. Is part of this aging over time?
I want to know what Troy and Mitch's Best Picture for 2010 is from the options that were nominated, which I'm about to read to you.
Oh yeah, we need a segment song for it, and we're cutting to it now, and it's called "Ranking a Long Time Ago 2010 Oscar Picks," which is the best.
16 years ago.
Which is the fifth.
I won't tell you which one actually won. You might know when I read it out, but I'll tell you at the end which one actually won. These were the nominees in 2010 for Best Picture. Up in the Air, George Clooney. Up, which is wild because there's 2 Up titles. A Serious Man, Coen Brothers movie. Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire. Inglourious Bastards, Quentin Tarantino. And Education, I don't remember that one at all. District 9, Blindside, Avatar, and The Hurt Locker.
I think, knowing what we know now, I think my favorite is actually the best. And that's Inglourious Bastards. Because we realize that Tarantino is an auteur artist. So he's always building upon his previous work. And he, I think, has had the plan to make the perfect movie for a long time. And he thinks this one was his perfect movie. I didn't necessarily think that when I saw it, but I guess somewhat similar to how Kanye made My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, almost as like a FU to the source. He was like, you want me to make a perfect album? I can make a perfect album, and here it is. And they were like, this is 5 mics. I think it's the same thing. And so like the first scene of that movie, you got Christoph Waltz talking about the hawk and the mouse. That's crazy. That's my introduction to him. Then we see what he does in Django like 3 years later, and it's like, oh, this dude is just a dynamo. You know what I mean? But then the last scene with Brad Pitt, he always wanted to work with Brad Pitt too, by the way. I've read some interviews about that. So he got to do that again once upon a time in Hollywood. When Brad Pitt's carving or, at the end and he's looking dead at the camera, he said, I think this might be my best work yet. I think that was Tarantino talking to us. Like, you wanted it, you got it. I gave you war. I gave you an A+ list actor. I gave you a revenge story. I gave you things for all countries. Right? We had French. We had French people there. We had Germans there. We had Americans. And here it is. Do you like it? I hope so. And I think 16 years later, I think it's probably the most technically sound movie.
It is an amazing answer to a question with no prep and of such random nature. That was fantastic.
I've seen Troy talk about Quentin Tarantino, so I kind of wanted to. I saw that it was on the list when I was looking through the years, and I thought I'm going to bring.
You
this
knew
one.
It was coming.
I love it though. That's my favorite. He's so kooky because that's my favorite Tarantino movie and probably one of my top 20 movies of all time. But he's so tricky because he's like, he's kind of a jerk. Like, he keeps doing horrible things and saying horrible things, but yeah, he does make some good.
You don't want to hang out with Quentin, maybe, but that's okay. We don't have to. All right, I'm ready for another segment. This segment is called "Just Putting It Out There."
I'm just putting it out there. I hope the Falcons win a Super Bowl soon. I'm just putting it out there. It's happening. I'm just putting it out there. I'll be at the parade. I'm just putting it out there. I will cry. I'm just putting it out there. Please.
Great one.
I love that.
It'd be great.
I saw you ask the question in the other day that you were like, where's the industry going? And I just want to say that I've been seeing a bunch of articles about Gen Z and how they're like discovering albums for the first time and stuff like that. And Gen Alpha really isn't that far behind them in terms of like age. It's like buying power, but they're going to start being able to buy things with their own allowance soon, probably, if not already. And I think it's a long-standing effect of COVID. Like, imagine being in like from 8th to 11th grade, taking classes online, and then being like, okay, now it's time to go to prom. Now it's time to lose your virginity. And now it's time to go off to college. It's like, that's a weird thing to, I probably should let the middle part out. That's a weird thing to have happen. And I think that they're seeing the real effects of like IRL now. And so with that being said, I think the industry may see a resurgence in out of home experiential stuff. Billboards have always been my favorite. And I think it's probably because I live in Atlanta and I am in traffic a lot. So I'm always looking at them, but I just love that sort of like expression of like 6 words or less, essentially, which so many billboards don't do. And I'm like, bro, we're not going to catch that. Like, what if I was going 80 miles per hour right now? Like, so I think it's something to look out for, like bus wraps, like train stations, billboards themselves. Like, I don't know if it's going to go all the way to like the Red Bull, like plane flying thing that they used to do, but I think it may be something to look out for as the kids say, we outside. So just throwing that out there.
That's a joyful spin on outdoor and experiential that I would like to see happen.
It's like a waste of money, I will tell you that. But when I see a good one, it's probably it's like one of the highlights of my day.
I love driving around looking at Atlanta out of home. I'm with you on that. I think it's fun to see the really good one. Much about the one that just says "I'm Alexander." Have you seen that one?
He's got billboards like up and down 85.
He's
the lawyer,
right?
It only works if you see all of them. If you see all of
them,
them, it's like Alexander does this, Alexander does that, and then if you land on that one, I'm Alexander. It's like a final point. But if that's the first and only one you see, which has happened for me, I was like, what?
There's a billboard near the guest house office that says, are your teeth sexy enough?
Oh, yeah, that's a whole, out here in Gwinnett County, there's a lot of, one dentist. Did you want to go to the dentist who thinks that teeth are sexy?
my teeth sexy or not?
What if he was a proctologist? Would we want to, would he be in jail, right?
That's a high compliment.
Like being in the dentist chair and then the dentist saying like, oh yeah, anyway, I got into this business because I think teeth are really sexy. Okay, let me take a look at yours. That's a really...
Well, I'm going to put you out now. Oh, that reminds me. We worked at a place where we were incented to come up with fake ads to try to win awards, and then we would sell them to potential clients. And we got a cart before the horse kind of situation where we came up with some ads for floss. And the strategy was, spend less time with your sadist. And we would show dentists doing crazy stuff that dentists like to do.
They exist.
And how horrible it is. Their equipment's so horrible. They're into your mouth. They're doing terrible things. They're shooting water at you and everything. And we actually fully made these ads before it ever occurred to us to find a floss company that would want to run these ads. And then it turned out that no floss company would ever want to say mean things about dentists. Anyway, I'm showing them to you now. Cut to the floss ads.
Yeah,
never ran. We even made up we considered starting a floss company. We were insane at that point in our careers.
I just think it's obvious that floss companies would want dentists to back them and give them away because that's like the main way that you learn about floss. So we probably should have thought of that.
You're an amazing actor. I can't wait until you start acting in more things. That was another thing. I know we're just wrapped up, but what's it like being on camera after writing so many things?
It's actually weird in a good way though, because my initial instinct was like, shouldn't this person be saying this? And like, luckily I worked a few times with y'all and y'all were like, all right, well, maybe just give a feel for it. And what do you think this character will want to say? But I imagine that every single shoot I'll be on, it wouldn't allow me to necessarily give my own input as a writer. So I just have to turn that part of my brain off, turn the other part of my brain on, and read the lines, do my best, and I'm done after that. That's the best part. It's like I don't have to go back and edit. I don't have to go back and like try to like push through client reviews. So I'll take the break when I can get it.
Well, thank you so much, Troy. You're the best. We're so excited to know you and watch your career. It's been fantastic. Everything you put out is awesome, and people should follow you here.
That's right. Right here at Where the Bird, or for lack of Where the Bird is on Substack. We're on TikTok and we're on Instagram. But if you don't want to do any of that, just follow me at Troy DeBoy, and I'll tell you all about it when you get there.